He was a standout at Murrah High School. Left Murrah and went to Northeast Community College. Stopped by Alcorn State, but finished at JSU, where he was the SWAC Player of the Year. #1 scorer in the country at 28 points a game. Led Jackson State to an NCAA tournament. Played 4 years in the NBA along with several years overseas. And now he is the associate head coach at Jackson State University. Please welcome Clinton Trey Johnson.
EV, I appreciate that, man.
Trey, what's up, man? Listen, we've heard a lot of just interesting things about JPS from different people. Talk to us about your early experiences at Murrah High School and at JPS. And I know you started out, you said at Lanier. Talk to us a little bit about that, and then how you transitioned over to Murrah.
So, an interesting story. I grew up, I hated Murrah High School. I was a Lanier Bulldog from the time I was probably about 5 or 6 up until I was 15. My dad taught at Lanier. He started out at Whitten, but very early on he became a shop teacher. They still had shop in school. He was a shop teacher and baseball coach at Lanier. So as a kid, that's what I knew was Lanier High School. So Jerry Nichols was Michael Jordan to me. I watched Jerry Nichols growing up, and I thought he was the best thing I ever seen in my life, play basketball. And then so on after that, I saw Shannon Long, TJ Billups, Corey Mangum, Mike Neal, Adrian Hatchett, Antoine Ellis, PJ Gaylor. I saw all these guys come through there. James Thomas. I was in school. I was a 9th grader at James Thomas, 11th grade year. I was a 9th grader at Lanier. Darius Rice. So I hated Ronnie Henderson. I hated Othello Harrington, Jesse Pate, because they used to dominate Lanier. And every time you go to the game, Othello Harrington dunked every time he got the ball. So it made me cry when they used to beat Lanier. I was a kid, so I used to cry when Lanier would lose to Murrah. So the transition was kind of more so my brother's idea. We grew up baseball players. My dad, obviously played about 7 or 8 years minor league baseball in the Red Sox organization. So he was also the baseball coach at Lanier. So my brother, who was older than me 1 year, went to Lanier 9th and 10th grade. Played baseball for my dad. I came as a 9th grader, played varsity baseball for my dad. My dad decided he wanted to go back to school, get another degree and go into administration. So he was leaving Lanier after my 9th grade year. I was cool with staying. I wanted to stay. My brother he only played one sport. I played all 3 sports. So he wanted to find another place where they had a pretty good baseball program in the city. So we actually kind of went on visits as high school kids. You couldn't have paid me to go to Callaway. I'm sorry, I wouldn't have did that. But they probably had the best baseball program outside of us in the city at the time. But it was just something that I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. And Murrah was just more familiar. Most of the kids we went to middle school with went to Murrah. So my brother wanted to make that move more so for a baseball decision. He was my ride to school, so I made the move as well.
Wow, it's interesting. That's a great, that's something that we just didn't know, and that was interesting. You said you played all 3 sports, so you played football as well?
I played football, baseball, and basketball at Lanier.
What position did you play in football?
I was a quarterback. I started 3 games as a 9th grader varsity.
Oh, okay. How did you do in them 3 games?
It was 2-1. I threw more interceptions than touchdowns, though.
What made you decide to stick with basketball over football?
I hated practicing football. You think about how hot it is right now. Think about 2 days in August. And I was a young 9th grader. I graduated high school at 17. So when I walked in Lanier High School, I was 13 years old. So, I was young. I really didn't know much about how to work. I knew how to work, but I didn't know, how to push through a threshold or, I'm walking in there with 16, 17, 18-year-old guys from Georgetown, and I'm 13 years old. I got a 2-parent household when most of them didn't have. So, I had to grow up quick from that standpoint, and it helped me big time. By the time my 9th grade, when I walked in the door at Lanier, I could barely lift the bar on bench pressing. By the time I finished my 9th grade year, I was repping 45 easy. But and that was a credit to just the people that were around me at Lanier, my friends, the teams I played on, and just the staff in general.
Well, talk to me. Okay, so we transitioned over to Murrah. So did you play at Lanier for Coach Billups? Were you?
I was on the 9th grade team. So at the time, my man DT was our coach. I don't know if y'all remember DT, but DT used to walk on his tiptoes. And he was full of energy, and you can't call him DT. So Coach Thompson was our coach, but only the adults called him DT. But Coach Billups was, a varsity coach. But I used to be the ball boy, 9th grade. So if you played 9th grade, then most of the time you would be a manager for the high school. And I had already been around. Like I said, I grew up on Lanier, so I had been around for forever. So I've been knowing Coach Billups since I was a little boy.
So then we shift over to Murrah. Talk to us about that, now going from 9th grade team to the varsity team. Who were some of the players that you had to look up to at that time, your sophomore year? Who was the leaders of Murrah at that time?
So another fun fact, I did not play basketball my 10th grade year when I got to Murrah. I only played baseball. I stopped playing football and basketball. My 10th grade year was the only year that I only played baseball. Wasn't really, for whatever reason, when I got there, I just wasn't as interested in going for the basketball team. And at the time, Coach Frith, who just passed away, was my high school coach, rest in peace. Murrah was kind of synonymous for you couldn't just show up and get on the team. Like, they didn't have tryouts. Coach didn't do those type of things. So it was like, man, I don't even really want to go through all that and try it. So I just stuck with baseball for that year. And I didn't even play basketball until my junior year. Again, no tryouts. I was friends with most of the basketball players. Julius Brown, who was a player at Murrah, we were the same age, same grade, but his dad was the assistant coach at Murrah. He had been the assistant coach even under Coach Jordan. But Coach Brown played at Lanier, won a high school national championship, I want to say 55 or 56, a legendary team. But he took me to Coach Brown's class one day and told Coach Brown that, hey, this Trey, he want to play basketball, knowing that Murrah don't have tryouts. And Coach Fritz really didn't just let new guys on the team. And so I was already in 7th period gym class because I was a baseball player. So we all were in 7th period gym. Coach Brown just told me to just come tomorrow, bring my stuff, and when they play open run, just play. I'll take care of it. And that's how I got on the team my junior year. I just went, played open run. Coach Fritz didn't say anything to me. He just never told me to leave. So when they gave out a uniform, I got a uniform. So it was never like a formal conversation or anything like that with Coach Fritz. It was just Coach Brown told me to just dress out that day and play, and that's how I got on the team.
Wow, that's incredible because, as you went on to play, professional basketball, if we look back at the story, everybody here's the story, the mythical story of Michael Jordan didn't make the varsity team. He got cut. In reality, he just played JV.
Right.
Everybody uses that story like he got cut. You literally did not play basketball. That is different. And you were a conversation away from never playing basketball in high school. That's amazing. And so that's an incredible story. When did you know that, man, I'm pretty good at this basketball thing?
Interesting. I always felt like I was good. I was the kid in elementary that when the teacher asked what you want to be when you grow up, whatever season it was, that's what my answer was. If it was football season, I'm going to be an NFL player. If it was basketball season, be an NBA player. If it was baseball season, be a Major League Baseball player. But I really believed that. I really thought that. So I thought I was at least average in every sport. It wasn't until I remember this like yesterday. It was my junior year. I was on the team, we were in the season. We would always shoot around before practice. I'm shooting around on one of the goals. And I just kind of was looking up at the wall. Our gym looks exactly like this gym. It's just polar opposite. And I just said, I want to go to the NBA. To myself, in my head. I knew it was going to take a lot of work. I knew it was going to be far-fetched, but it was just at that moment I made up in my mind that I was going to be married to whatever it took to get there. And from that point, that's what I did. I always was a student of whatever game I played. So my IQ was something that kind of set me apart more so than the next player that may have been more athletic or more gifted than me physically. But I just knew it was gonna be a lot, but I was willing to do whatever it took to get there.
You know, I had done some research on you, and you kind of triggered something. Whatever season it was, that's what your thought process. Correct me if I'm wrong. When you left high school, you were a 30th round draft pick in Major League Baseball?
Yeah, so I was a 30th round draft pick of the Kansas City Royals out of high school.
What made you choose like basketball over baseball?
Man, it was just the love. I grew up playing baseball, so I mean, baseball was my first love, but anybody that knows my pops, it was like a job early on. You know, you would be on punishment for bad baseball games. So it just got to the point where I kind of got burnt out on it. You know, because it felt like I had been playing baseball for 15 years and working. It was a job. But basketball was just, you know, everybody around me was doing it. And it was just a passion. It was just a burning desire. And I'm kind of the guy that I like to prove people wrong. So, you know, basketball was probably the last sport that anybody would have said that I would have played professionally. It probably would have went baseball, football, and then basketball. So it was just like a challenge.
Let's go back to your senior year in high school. Were you the leader of that team of your senior year?
I was.
You and who else?
Man, we had 10 seniors that year. So our entire, outside of myself, 9 of our 10 seniors, so excluding me, they came in and played 9th grade together, so they grew up together. But I mean, everybody, we had a very, very good team. Jeremy Cable, Julius Brown, Julius Young, who played with me at Jackson State, Justin Straughter, Channing Twiner, Kevin Bass. I mean, we had a well-rounded basketball team. We're #1 in the state for the majority of the year. End up losing first round. I'm still sick behind that.
Would you say, you know, because I saw you, how your demeanor changed, would you say that's your most disappointing loss as a high school player?
Most definitely. We had Clinton was the preseason #1. They had the top player in the state, Jerika Singleton, at the time. We were preseason ranked #10, and we was only ranked because of what Mo had did previously. No, we didn't have a top 100, or we just had a group of guys that could really play. Nobody was head above heels better than the next guy, but we just had a group of guys that really knew how to play together and had a lot of chemistry. And so by the time the season was over, we were #1 and Clinton wasn't ranked anymore. We had just beat them the previous week, the last game of the regular season. They were in our district. And so we get through with district. We lose a game in district championship that we shouldn't have lost. So that put us on the road for what they call a satellite game. And we had to go back to Clinton and play. And they played this slow down, hold the ball game. And we were out of sync. I mean, we used to like to get up and down. I mean, our first 4 games of my senior year, we scored over 100 points in 32-minute games. So, you know, they slowed it down, held the ball. I think the score was 40-something, 30-something final. But, I mean, they beat us. And that one still stings. I won't let that one go.
You know, you played a year with Mo Williams, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, Mo's a senior, you was a junior. Talk to me, you know, you end up first of all, you go to Northeast after leaving Murrah. What happened? Did you feel that you were good enough to play at those Power 5 schools? And, you know, they obviously came in to see Mo the year before. Talk to us how you ended up at Northeast versus maybe a Power 5 or anything like that.
#1, I didn't play basketball AAU-wise. I played maybe 2 or 3 tournaments my whole life. So that's where you were heavily recruited, obviously. And then I was a power forward in high school. You know, I was about the same height, 6'4", 6'5", but I played power forward position. And so I knew I needed to transition into being a guard. God rest his soul, Omar Carter took me over after my senior year in high school. He actually is the one that sent me to Northeast and told me, you know, you need to be a wing. From the time my senior year was over in high school, I worked out with Omar every day. And so by the time I showed up to campus in August, I was a wing. And the coach just trusted and believed him that, hey, this guy gonna be a wing, he gonna be a steal, just if you got a scholarship to take him. And he did, and everything worked out.
So then you leave Northeast, go to Alcorn. What happened there?
Sam West happened. Anybody that knows Coach West, he can sell you a dream like fried ice cream. But I love Coach West, great dude, but half of my family is Alcorn, half is Jackson State. As a kid, I grew up on the side that was Jackson State. My dad went to Jackson State, my uncles. So I hated Alcorn growing up. My granddad, my mom's side, were all Alcornites. And my brother was more the Alcorn fan. So Coach West came to me, I was a qualifier out of high school, came to me after my freshman year in JUCO, and he just sounded so good. and so I talked to my granddad about it. My granddad found out about it. And then he gets behind it. And so I said, all right, cool, I'm gonna go to Alcorn. Then I decommit. I commit to him, and then I changed my mind. I said, nah, I don't wanna do that. I'm gonna go back to JUCO. So I spent the whole summer decommitted from Alcorn. I'm going back to Northeast for my second year. Coach West calls me the day before school starts. I'm leaving that day to go to Northeast, to go back, checking my dorm. School starts that Monday. This is a Sunday. Coach West calls me one last time, and again, he just made it sound so good. I flipped and just went to Alcorn for a year, and I mean it was good for me. It helped me grow into a man, but I knew I needed to come home and be at Jackson State after I spent that year there.
So you came back to Jackson State, obviously had a phenomenal career. You went on to be SWAC Player of the Year. You averaged 28 points a game. And then you go on a journey, even though you were undrafted, you went on a journey and was able to make several NBA teams, play for 4 years. Talk to us about how JPS, your time in JPS shaped your ability to persevere and make it in the NBA.
I mean, you hit it on the head. I mean, perseverance. Just being from Jackson in general, you know, you got to be tough. You know, nobody's giving you anything. And at the time I was coming up, I mean, the names I can name of guys in an open gym, like you had to be great to even get on the court in an open gym. You talking about Mo Williams, Justin Reed, Aaron Harper, Trey Lee, Trey Sanders at Jim Hill. You know, I spoke about the guys from Lanier, but I watched Roy Dixon play at Jim Hill, Dave Sanders. I mean, that's an open gym at the YMCA on a Saturday. And so, you know, to get on the court with those guys, you had to be tough. To get their respect, you had to be tough. You know, one thing for me, my barometer was if I had Jay Reed's respect, then I knew I was good. And from early on, you know, I sought after his respect because he was the toughest guy I'd ever seen, like from on the basketball court. So to watch him at his size, and a guy with most people would agree had limited ability, but he made the most out of everything he had. So it was just the toughness and the perseverance of being in the JPS atmosphere, you know, watching those guys that came before me. I felt like I wouldn't be able to be mentioned with those guys' names if I gave up or I just gave in to any situation.